folks. First week down of Diablo 4 Season 4, Modern Horizons 3, and whatever else I want to think about and come up with. But first, we always have...
My name is Dom Douglas, and I am back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year. With that comes some responsibilities, but also a lot of fun and excitement, and I'm never ashamed to look like a complete fool. Speaking of that, I love playing Magic the Gathering, so much so that I kind of think I play it a little bit too much, and I have some opinions. So now, XtremeTVOnline.com and XWW Wrestling on YouTube presents my podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering. It's the Goblin Grenade Podcast.
Goblin Grenade Podcast 18. My name is Dom Douglas. As previously said, the back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year award coming to you live, not really, but from YouTube and Extreme World Wrestling's YouTube channel. Thank you all for the views. Thank you all for the support. Thank you all for everything going on this year on the podcast. I think I'm preparing for a few things, the next couple of shows that I've got. Also, I'm going to be in New Jersey for a couple weeks, so I have to actually start, doing what I would like to call the breaking glass in case of emergency episodes that I already used, which was the Commander decks that I did. I might do the few more Commander decks that I've made since then as one, but that's only going to take so far. So what I would like to do is, just kind of do a deck tech and play Arena. The problem is my computer's still doing that thing where nothing almost will upload because something's already trying to install. I'm going to do a clean file soon. I have no other projects lined up for a couple weeks. So that's on me, though. How about you? Hope y'all are doing well. Hope you're having a great and wonderful time so far. We are May 21st when I record this. So we're a few weeks away from Modern Horizons 3, but also we're a week out from Diablo 4 Season 4 dropping. And ladies and gentlemen, Diablo 4 Season 4 is amazing. My impressions is going to start things off. The leveling has been really fun to 50. I rolled, obviously, a Necro because it is the class that has had the most work done to it. We all knew it was going to be powerful. We all knew everybody was going to be rolling Necro. But I wasn't prepared for how crazy powerful Necros are. Minion Necros especially. The minions actually work now. And not that they didn't work before, but they were very fragile. If you, in the upper later levels, if you breathed on any of your minions, they died. So that made that build kind of not good. And with the rework, now they have the same amount of life that you do, so you kind of have to look at your gear, which has been fundamentally changed as well. I'll move this a little closer to me. That you're now looking for more life and attack strength, attack speed and whatnot on certain aspects. I don't know. I went to max roll GG and because I can't come up with anything on my own. And basically rolled the Necro, saw what they did. And I'm liking it. And I know it's not the top tier Necro build that could be possible. But I got the Hunter, got my glyphs maxed out, got everything finalized. Well, not maxed out glyphs. They're all at level 15. Almost on the season journey already. Finished the Iron Wolf stuff. Haven't killed any Ubers yet, but I like to take my time with that. But I've gone through level 1 through 100, and pretty much except for Ubers and doing the other half of the pit, I've pretty much done almost everything you can. My impressions are the leveling is fun. Now that Helltides start in World Tiers 1 and 2, World Tier 1 is now the noob zone. I don't think I've touched World Tier 1 since the beginning, since day one of the game's launch a year ago. You really don't need to, because World Tier 2 is definitely, you have to unlock Tier 2 obviously from World Tier 1 if I wasn't mistaken a year ago. But I myself was just going to take it nice and easy on my first character, try to get the whole story out, do everything that I can, like milk that single player story experience for all it was, because it was the only time I was going to be doing it. And I enjoyed the story of Diablo 4. I want to see where they're going in the expansion when it drops later in the year. But yeah, World Tier 1 is just not even worth it. World Tier 2 is where it's at. I mean, yeah, even Helltides are great. But honestly, World Tier 2, I pretty much in the first 2 hours went to like level 1 to 30 on accident. And that was because I like kind of went into an Helltide not knowing what to expect and didn't know that, the demon train don't stop in Helltides. Like, you don't get a break. And that is something I'm going to consider a knock. And I'll tell you why, but in a bit. But when it comes to Helltides, there is no breaks. Like, you do not get time to breathe. And I love it and hate it at the same time, because it's kind of hard to actually teleport before like you're level 50 in a sense, because you'll be teleporting to another town and trying to like, unload the gear that you have to like destroy and whatnot or sell, which you'd never do. And then another random spawn of enemies will just appear right before you teleport, hit you, and knock you out of your teleport. And you're like, oh, I got to fight these guys again. And then by the time you're done fighting those guys, sometimes it's happened to me that the enemy immunity meter, the animosity meter, I'll call it, whatever, I forgot the name, fills up, and now you have to do the 3 waves of brawls before you fight a Helltide commander or like a Hellborn. And it's like you get no breaks. That's the only reason why I don't like it, because sometimes I just want to get out of there, offload, and not have to like use my horse and ride the horse into town. And even then, like, sometimes you'll be riding a horse and the maw of hell or something like that will open up in front of you and vomit out a bunch more demons that you have to kill, and it'll knock you off your horse, and use that 10 to 12 second cooldown timer because the horse was technically injured in the process. So yeah, Helltides are amazing. Helltides are fun, but it don't stop. Once you enter in, you gotta like hunker down and say, all right, once I'm full, and let's figure out how to get back in town before dying. It's a minor nitpick, but you could just stay in Helltides the entire time if you wanted to, and have fun, because that is that dopamine loop of killing, loot, killing, loot, killing, improving your gear ever so slightly. The assault to 100 for me, from level 50 to 100, wasn't as slow as I thought it would be, because I've been day one Diablo 4 where it was notoriously slow. The one character barbarian that I have, the first build, is from level to 100 on the old XP system. And let me tell you something, that's like a little bit of a, everybody around that time, day one XP grind, we should all just pat ourselves on the back for having to deal with that because it feels so wrong to think that like just a year ago, it took me like a week or two to get the barbarian, the level 100. Mind you, I was playing the campaign, but it just took so long to get to level 100. And now it's like, it took me 2 days to get to level 100 and maxed out the glyphs and, not maxed out, I at least got all my glyphs to level 15. And I'm like pretty much prepped up for end game content, which is the pit, which is amazing. And the end game content, the pit, which is their version of Diablo 3's Greater Rifts, is how you masterwork your new gear, which is one of the many reworks they've done to gear. Now, gear, your armor, your weapons, your jewelry, they will all drop according to your class. So it's whatever your class needs. Like there are 2 or 3, it has a pool, like, Barbarian really loves, strength, Necro and Sorcerers really well, sorcerers really like intelligence, rogues like dexterity, so it'll drop tailored to your class, and you just have to find some of the best gear. But what happened with me was, with the build, I was getting those particular gears dropped. Like, I need like a gear, my chest armor needed to proc my minions in such a way, and I could build it, and I could get it from like a rare chest piece and then upgrade it to a legendary through the the occultist system and whatnot and the enchanting system. But I was having those pieces drop for me, and those pieces I was actually liking way better, because what I've noticed on the rare gear, it'll mainly drop with 2 affixes and not 3. And very rarely will 3 affixes drop. And sometimes you need intelligence, max life, and armor for some, especially the necro build. Like, most of the gear pieces are definitely heavily tailored to, armor, max life, and intelligence. Intelligence can, once you hit a peak, and whatnot, once you hit certain peaks, I think the breakpoint for armor class is now like 9,200. So once you hit like 9,200, any extra armor that you get doesn't work. So once you hit 9,200, stop upgrading the armor number count and to start focusing on the other things. So there was that. And then gearing is fun, but I don't know. I might get a lot of heat for saying this, but I somewhat pseudo-liked some of the old ways. And it was a bit more of an adventure getting the gear. I think it's definitely... You had to grind for definite pieces of the gear, especially when, stuff was like, damage on Tuesdays. That's not... That meme earned its place within the Diablo 4 community, because it was absolutely true that there were some ridiculous pieces of gear that would just randomly do stuff. But now it's almost like given to you very easily, and I don't know if it's too easy that you get it. I don't know. I'm definitely the exception to the rule here on that one, in that line of thinking. And I love everything about Season 4, but I just felt that with the item crafting, that I didn't have to do it because I was already given, like, those pieces of gear were already dropped for me. Gearing's much easier now, because when you break when you break a legendary up, you don't get an aspect of... You don't have to extract aspects from legendary gear. Like, it just automatically does it when you junk it, and each aspect has, like, now different levels. So as long as you junk, like, one piece of, like, aspect of, like, fast striking or, double damage, if it gives you, like, a 1% chance, that's level 1, and then the max level would be 16, would be 20% chance. And as long as you've, like, junked a piece of gear that, say, like, a couple levels later, you junk a piece of gear that's level 5% chance to double strike, that replaces that previous affix in your pool at the armorer, or at the anvil, if you will. And so yeah, gearing your characters are easier, but I didn't have to really mess around with too much gear because it was already given to me. My one big complaint that I had, and it's just me being an idiot, but it happened to a lot of other people too, especially day one, starting the Iron Wolves campaign. When I started, I immediately didn't check the map to see that, I have to talk to this person in the starter area where the world tree's at to choose your, world tier level, to talk to them to start that Iron Wolf mission. So for about an hour or two, I was just kind of like trying to figure it out, and nothing online was saying anything about it either. So after, yeah, but I didn't just like stop playing. I was just still doing things. And then eventually I found out, oh, if I open a map, it'll tell me, speak to this guy in Kovashed. And that starts the Iron Wolf campaign. And so I started that. And then once I got talking to the proper reward system for the Iron Wolves, I had already got like level 9. It was pretty ridiculous, but there were a couple of people still like staring around like, where is it? It's telling me to talk to Sudev the Anvil and they're not here. No, you got to talk to somebody in Kovashed first. And it does a very bad job, I feel. For me it was because it was telling me to speak to Sudev in Iron Wolves encampment, not the person in Kovashed. So it's a little minor thing, and it probably already got fixed. Endgame content, like the pit is amazing. It's where you masterwork your ancient ancestral legendary gear, and that's endgame stuff. Each piece of legendary gear can be masterworked 12 times. So what happens is the first 3 times you do it, everything will get, all affixes will get bumped up. So, your intelligence, your armor, and whatnot. And then on the 4th one, it's going to choose one of those 3 at random, or 5 if you've, put imprinted gear. And it's going to choose one of them. And it's going to bump that up. So you can have the same stat line bumped up 4 times. Now, that's going to be kind of rolling the dice a little bit. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay. You can undo it and then redo the 12 to see if you get all 4 bumps in the one stat line that you're wanting. Some broken builds have truly been found, especially thorn bar builds where they're doing billions upon billions of damage by just standing there. It's a sight to behold. It's beautiful. So gearing, masterworking is fun. The pit is fun. I think I'm like level 40 in the pit, which is nowhere near the best or like the top or even near the end of it, but I'm having a blast. But I had to like stop playing my Necro and started playing a Barb, and already in the first few hours of Barb I'm level 40 something already, and not even a few hours, I think it was like 2-3 hours I played Barb, and Whirlwind Barb, and already I'm just like level 30 something, and I'm like, all right, the first 50 levels are easy to get. And I was alluding to that earlier. Sorry, it's a very... but getting from like level 90 to 100 is where it kind of slows down a little bit, which is natural. It's not Diablo 2 level 90s, but it takes a little longer from 90 to 100 than it does from 1 to 90. So yeah, I'm having an absolute blast with Diablo 4 Season 4, except for my few minor complaints, which is nothing really to complain about. It's just weird that I think I'm the only person that kind of feels like too much stuff has been given to me too quickly. So we will end that discussion. And trust me, I know I'm one of a handful of people that think that. Nobody playing the game streaming wise right now, the big streamers, Riker, Rax, Darth Microtransaction, Wujo, they don't think that. I know I do. Just a little bit. So, Modern Horizons 3. Spoilers have come out. Modern Horizon 3 is a few weeks away. It'll actually be my last week in Jersey when it comes out, or close to the last couple of days. So I might peel away to a store while I'm visiting and do some Modern Horizons 3 shenanigans, because Modern Horizons 2 was very good to me when it came to fetch lands. And I converted those fetch lands into other things because I kept opening arid mesas. I had 5 arid mesas, 3 of them retro frame, and I traded one of them in for 2 of the tutors in black, and the good ones, not crazy expensive ones, but 2 good tutors in black, a couple other fetch lands as well. So I made sure to get almost one of each. How do I say this about Modern Horizons 3? There's definitely some cards here that are printed for Commander, especially in the list of previews that I've seen and I'm going to show you. And we're going to start with, I hope I clicked it right. No, I didn't. Oh, look at that. A Johnny Nakatl Pariah for 1 and a white for a legendary Cat Warrior. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 white Cat Warrior creature token. Whenever one or more cats you control die, you may exile a Johnny and then return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. The flavor text, his pride denied him, his brother did not. This is the story of a Johnny getting a spark, kind of like what they did in Magic Origins. When something happens on these double-faced cards, it comes out as a Johnny Nakatl Pariah first, as a 1/2 creature, and then when the conditions are met, you get to turn it into a Johnny Nakatl Avenger, a Planeswalker. See? Found a spark. Starts with 3 loyalty, and with a +2, put a +1/+1 counter on each cat you control. Create a 2/1 white Cat Warrior creature token for 0 loyalty. When you do, if you control a red permanent other than a Johnny Nakatl Avenger, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. And then it's -4. Each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. Pretty powerful things. Now remember, with Modern Horizons 3, you cannot play these cards in Standard or Pioneer. These are meant for Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Pretty much. You can play the Pauper, the Commons and Pauper, because Gavin's already talked about, there's going to be a card, probably banned, in Pauper very soon from this set. I don't want to speculate, but I think it's the one that makes, 2/1 Eldrazi plant creatures that you can sack to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. I think it's that one that's going to be banned. I saw that. I was like, that's going to be broke. Aether Refinery. Energy's getting some love, but there's going to be a little bit of a catch here. Aether Refinery, 4 red for an artifact in red. If you would get 1 or more energy, you get twice that many energy instead. So, okay, doubling up on the energy. Energy needs some love. It hasn't had anything. And I know if you bought the Science Fallout Commander deck, you're going to need some help with the energy if that's the route you're running. And you can tap it for energy. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, create an XX Black Aetherborn creature token where X is the amount of energy paid this way. Pardon me. Now, this being said, this, I can confirm for a fact, is part of the Modern Horizons Commander decks. Modern Horizons 3, for some reason, has 4 Commander decks coming out, and this card is in one of them because it's the M3C and the different logo. That's how I knew immediately that it was, but I'm being confused by some other things. Now, Bloodstained Mire, the enemy fetches are the 4 fetches in the set. Well, the other 5 fetch lands that weren't printed in Modern Horizons 2 are printed here. So far, the pricing on some of these is around $20. The set's not out yet for a few weeks. I think the same thing that's going to happen to the base printing versions of the fetch lands in Modern Horizons 2 is going to happen in Modern Horizons 3 as well. Because there's 4 or 5 different printings of this Bloodstained Mire. We'll just open this one up. For an example, this is the full art. You can see that's the, card. And then that's the full art borderless. Then there's the extra art. And then, the serialized cards. There's going to be 5 different printings of this card. And what I'm trying to say is the baseline version of Bloodstained Mire, this one, this will eventually go down to about, I want to predict, between $10 to $13, depending on which fetch it is. When they hit that level, buy them. Buy whatever you need. If you need them in Modern, if you need them in Commander, if you need them in Legacy or Vintage, buy them now. Because they will be the lowest they will be for, and you'll have maybe 8 months. If Modern Horizons 2 is any indication of how long you have to strike while the hammer's hot. Or you can trade them in, day of, like I did. I mean, I did not trade with the store. I was trading with other players that needed arid maces. And I was like, I'm flooding in arid maces. So yeah, but I think after like 2 weeks of the set officially being out, so probably beginning of July is when these fetches are going to hit an all-time low. Buy the basic versions. If you want the cute version, that's fine. If you want, if you want the borderless version or the alt art version, that's fine. You can. No knocking that. Just letting you know, the basic version is going to be cheap. Because I know Modern Horizons 2, almost all the fetches, even Breeding Pool. No, those are shocks. But even like Misty Rainforest, it's $12. Before that set came out, it was a $50 fucking card. So it got tanked pretty hard. Awesome for us. Not so awesome for game stores that were selling them at the time. But now but Modern Horizons 2 fetches have kind of bounced back to the price that they will be for until they get reprinted again 10 years down the line. Now, what? Okay, there we go. Yay. Sorry for the crappy picture. This is Emerald Medallion. This is in Modern Masters 3, Modern Horizons 3. This was spoiled, I guess, not too long ago. I want to say that these are going to be in the Commander decks, and I'll tell you why. Emerald Medallion is because all five medallions, which is one for each color, are being printed. They are all 2-drop artifacts that say green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, or red spells, or blue, white, black. All 5 colors, just reduces it by 1. These never, to my best recollection, see play in Modern or any other formats, except for maybe Fringe decks, and I could be very wrong, but I don't play those formats. But I know you see them in Commander sometimes, and that's a sometimes. Maybe we'll see more, because this is the second reprinting that the medallions have had in the past, I think, like year, maybe 18 months. But Emerald Medallions are definitely being reprinted, but I think they're just, I wanted to say they were in the Commander decks, but this is telling me it's actually in the base set. Or you get this particular version from the collector boosters. My least favorite creature type in all of Magic the Gathering's history, the Eldrazi. Yes, I've maintained that for almost since getting back into the game. I'm not a fan of the Eldrazi at all. Emrakul the World Anew for 12 mana. It's a 12-drop for a 12/12. When you cast a spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. Flying, protection from spells, and permanents that were cast this turn. When Emrakul the World Anew leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control. Madness, pay 6, waste. It's generic mana, but now it's called waste mana. I hate it. I'm sorry. I hate the Eldrazi. I know. Some people love them. Some people are enamored with them. You could say, oh, it only costs 12 to cast. No, it's not going to cost 12 to cast. Not if you're playing not if you're playing a waste deck. We'll get to that in a bit too. But also, it's a madness card. So if I get on turn 6, if I have Anji out on field, I'm dumping Emrakul with 6 lands. I mean, you need specifically waste, but if you're building a waste deck, you have this. You have this so easy that it's going to be stupid and silly. It's going to be coming out on turn 6, and gain control of all creatures target player controls. All creatures target player controls. And then when it dies, sack all creatures you control. So your opponent doesn't even get their friggin' creatures back when somebody answers this damn thing. I don't know. I just don't like the Eldrazi. This one isn't as bad as the others, but you basically get a board wipe and a 12/12 for a flyer, and protection from spells and permanents that were cast this turn. Yeah. Don't like the Eldrazi. But what I do like is Flare of Denial for 1 and 2 blue for an instant counter target spell, or sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. This is Force of Will version 5, because there's Force of Negation, there's the blue spell and Commander. If your Commander's out, you don't have to pay anything. This is another one of those free spells, and I think each color getting one. But usually people care about the blue one because it's a counter target spell for 0 mana. Tremendously help. Now, will it see 4 of in modern play? That is the question. Because right now, does it replace the playsets of Negations and Force of Wills in blue decks? We'll find out. If you need 4 of them, this card's going to be more expensive than it is pre-ordering right now. If most are only playing 2, then I don't think so. I think it stays at the price it is right now, which I think is like $45 to pre-order the card. But if every modern deck needs a playset of these in the 75, then I think this shoots up to $80 easily. Now, this is where we're going to get to Silly Town. This is one of the Commander cards, Planar Nexus. Planar Nexus is every non-basic land type. Non-basic land types include caves, deserts, gates, lairs, locust, mine, power plant, sphere, tower, and Urzas. Okay. You had me at tower and Urzas and power plant and mine. So you have all 3 of the Tron lands in this card, which is going to make a turn 1 Planar Nexus, turn 2 Urza's Tower. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. If you control Urza's Mine, Tower, and Urza's Power Plant, add 3 colorless to your mana pool instead. With Planar Nexus, we'll have the ability for 4 colorless mana on turn 2. Now, for playing Commander, and we've played Sol Ring and Arcane Signet, we have 6 lands. We have 6 mana available to us by turn 3. Tell me that your casual format is starting to get off the rails without telling me the most casual format is not starting to get off the rails. Because right now, every deck is going to need Planar Nexus, especially if you're playing colorless. Not every deck needs it, but if you're running Tron lands in Modern, if you're running non-basics in, I don't know, the card's already pre-selling for like $40. I can see why. You can only get it in a Commander deck, in one of the 4 Commander decks too. So I want to guess that this one is in the Eldrazi deck. So that's why also it's going to be prohibitively more expensive to get. So buy that Eldrazi deck. Siege Gang Lieutenant is 3 in a red for a Goblin, and I only added this in because this is probably going in Zada, my Goblin Typal deck. Kindred deck. 2/2 Goblin. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create 2 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens. Those tokens gain haste until end of turn. For 2 mana and sacking a Goblin, Siege Gang Lieutenant deals 1 damage to any target. I love these type of goblins. I love Sling Gang Lieutenant. It's a definite auto-include in Zada, because if I already have this, if I have Zada on the field and I have this and I drop this, I get basically 4 power of creatures, and they're not just going to be 4 power in Zada. It's going to be a lot more power with all the Anthem effects in that deck. But also I have 3 more targets for a Zada spell. So I have 3 more chances to copy a spell because of Zada. So yeah, it's definitely going in Zada. The only reason why I'm previewing it in this podcast is because it's definitely going in Zada, but it's pre-ordering for $12 right now. I think that's just because it's not available yet, and it's only available in a Commander deck. So I'm going to wait for that to lower a little bit. Wastes are getting reprinted, and they're also getting Snow Land. It's the last basic land that didn't have a snow type to it, if I'm not mistaken. And now Wastes are getting snows. Wastelands are the Eldrazi lands. So when, like with Emrakul that we checked out earlier, where it was like madness cost 6 wasteland, or 6 wastelands or 6 generic mana. Makes generic mana only. And then we have another flip planeswalker that I thought was going to be in commander deck, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be in the main set. Sorin of House Markov for 1 and a black. For a legendary creature, human noble, it's a 1/4 with lifelink and extort. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you've gained 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin House Markov and return to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control into Sorin Ravenous Neonate, 3 loyalty planeswalker with extort, +2 create a food token. Weird. -1, Sorin Ravenous Neonate deals damage equal to the amount of life you've gained this turn to any target. And then -6, gain control of target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it, and if you control white permanent other than that creature or Sorin. So I like the food token aspect. I'm a little weird that it wouldn't be a blood token, but I get it with the life gain. It is Sorin. But, we have Ugin's Lab, probably the chase card of the set. At the moment, I think the base version of this card is pre-selling for $110. Imprint. When Ugin's Labyrinth enters the battlefield, you may exile a colorless card with mana value 7 or greater from your hand. Tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. If a card is exiled with Ugin's Labyrinth, add 2 instead. Return the exiled card to its owner's hand. The only drawback to this is exiling a card with your hand with mana value 7 or greater. In certain commander decks, this will work. In Tron decks, this will work. In colorless Tron, it will definitely work. But the problem is, most of the other times that we've had add 2 mana to your mana pool from a land is Ancient Tomb. Ancient Tomb does 2 damage to you, off the top of my head. And then there's I forgot the name of it. But I like putting this land in because this land that I forgot the name of in because you could tap it to add 2 colorless to your mana pool, but you have to have 5 or more lands on the field for it to work. And those 2 cards that I just mentioned have a limitation to them. This one doesn't. You can tap for 2 mana turn 1 because it also doesn't come into play tapped. And the negation is you can just return it to your hand, the card that you exiled with it. There's a reason why this card's already pre-sale for $110, and I don't think it's going to go any lower anytime soon. All right, so we did that. This is, I don't think it's one of the commanders. I think it's the backup commander, because remember that these precons are going to have 2 or 3 versions or takes of commanders that you can have. Ulek, Fused Atrocity for hybrid Wooburg or colorless. So you can either pay 1 mana of each color or a colorless mana. Devoid, this card has no color. It's a 2/5. Whenever you cast an Eldrazi spell, you may pay 2 colorless. If you do, copy all spells you control, then copy all other activated and triggered abilities you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Mana abilities can't be copied. Okay. So when you cast an Eldrazi spell that makes, let's say, 2 0/1s that you can sacrifice, if you have 2 extra mana flying around, you can tap those 2 and get 2 more of those 0/1 on top of spells that you control. So if you have Flash enabled, this stuff. Having this card on the field is going to get really sick really fast. I actually like it because it triggers not just, it doubles all the activated and triggered abilities you control. So you can activate things on the stack. This card's going to be so good. This card's going to be great. And then we have stuff like Urza's Cave. To tap and add 1 colorless, or 3 and tap and sack to search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. At the moment, this card is pre-selling for $7 because it says a land. There's no limitations. You can get your triomes, you can get your fetches, you can get your duels, you can get your shocks, you can get your snow-covered lands. You can get even the dual survey lands. You can get any land you want with Urza's Cave. So that's why this card is pre-selling for $6 as of this moment, May 21st. And then finally, the last card. I'm not going to preview every single card in the set. There are other channels that are way more capable, way more intelligent that have broken down all these things. But we have Wheel of Potential, and this is what I was saying about energy getting some love. You get 3 energy, then you may pay X energy. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. Then, if X is 7 or more, you may play those cards you own exiled this way until the end of your next turn. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. If X is 7 or more, you may play cards you own exiled this way until the end of your next turn. So if you pay 7 energy on top of this, you can have those cards that you exiled till the next turn. That's actually kind of not bad. That's not bad if you ask me. Right now, I think my favorite card of the set of what I've revealed is definitely, and I'm not going to say it's the Goblin, I'm going to say it's Ulek, Fused Atrocity, because it not only works in Wooburg decks, it can be in colorless if they're not changing it. Because see, like in this, you have to play a 5-color deck, a 5-color colorless deck for this to be your commander. But that does open up some things for you. You can either do the colorless route or, 5-color Wooburg Eldrazi. I don't know why you would do that. The colorless route is way more better because all the Eldrazi just light up, unless you don't have enough Eldrazi to fit in your deck. But then you have to add basic mana and whatnot. But just the fact that you get to copy all the spells you control, then copy all other activated and triggered abilities you control. And you can choose new targets for the copies. Except for mana abilities, they can't be copied. They had to make sure mana abilities can't be copied. Because nobody wants to get double wastelanded. Or double, that would be dreadful. This card is great. If the mana abilities got doubled and you can double wasteland somebody, that would just make it repulsively disgusting. But I think this is my favorite card of the set that I've previewed so far, notwithstanding goblins or anything like that. Folks, that was my ramblings of Season 4, Diablo 4. I do like the season, by the way. I really do. I really, really do. It's a fun season. It's a great... I've already rolled, obviously, as I said earlier, another character, Barbarian. But I just think sometimes, occasionally, you get things a little too easy. And Modern Horizons 3 is the reason why I haven't really cared about Markov Manor or Thunder Junction, because I've been kind of, getting my body ready, if you will, for Modern Horizons 3. My name's Dom Douglas, back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year, and may your top deck always be mythic. Ooh, that Eldrazi is going to be wicked.